to Going Mad. I'm Cailey.
And I'm Vanessa.
Today we're going to be talking about just some odd celebrity deaths. Vanessa will start off by telling us the tragic story of Brittany Murphy, which I don't know if y'all remember it, but it was pretty sad. And then I'm going to be covering some strange stories of the 27 Club, because it was insane. As always, if you have any weird stories that you would like us to cover in future episodes, email us at goingmadpod@gmail.com. All right, Vanessa, take it away.
Okay, so Brittany Murphy was born November 10th, 1977 in Atlanta, Georgia. Her mother, Sharon, and to her father, Angelo. And they divorced when Brittany was only 2 years old. Brittany asked her mom to move to LA when she was a teenager, and without hesitation, they dropped everything and they moved out to LA so Brittany can start her acting career. In 1995, she had her breakout movie, Clueless. I think everybody knows that movie. But she has also starred in many films. She was in Broadway, TV series, music videos. She did a little bit of singing. And she was even in video games.
She was?
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Oh. In 2003, she moved into her $3.9 million mansion.
Good Lord.
Yeah. And actually, Justin Timberlake lived with Britney Spears prior in this mansion. So I thought that was kind of cool. And it was still fully furnished and everything when they lived there. Wow. In 2007, Brittany marries a British screenwriter. His name is Simon Monjack. He was actually born in England. But not much is known about their relationship prior to their marriage because it was kept a secret from everyone. They stayed out of the Hollywood limelight. It's not even sure how they met. Brittany says that she was 17, but another source that I saw, she was 14 when they met.
What?
So that's kind of weird. And I also want to say a quote Simon has said really quick because it really disturbed me when I read this.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it said, this is his quote. She was too young to touch when they first met, but to make a long story short, I was very patient. Is that not disgusting?
What? He said that?
Yeah, because
about, a
Simon is
14-year-old?
Simon is 7 years Brittany senior.
I mean, that's not that bad, but don't say that about a minor.
Well, yeah, if she was 14, he would have been 21.
Yeah, 7 years isn't that big of a deal. But, when you're 21, do not say that about a 14-year-old.
Or,
if you're,
like I said, one source said she was 17, so he would have been... Math.
Yeah, but still, that's just weird. If you were 30 years old, and I don't mean to judge, guys. I'm not trying to judge, but that's weird.
It was disgusting when I read that. But anyways... So Simon is not very well known in the entertainment business. He is credited with directing and producing a couple of movies. But yeah, he just wasn't really well known. So that was kind of a shock to everybody too, because, she was this big star playing in all these movies and he just wasn't well known. And he was really bigger than her, which sounds really bad, but to me, he just wasn't as attractive as she was.
Yeah, I've seen pictures.
You've seen pictures of him?
To me, it was kind of I would have never really pictured them together, but hey, good for him.
I mean, hey, whatever. But anyways, he has had a couple legal issues. He has charges of credit card fraud, being sued by his bank, and also letting his visa expire, resulting in 9 days spent in jail. Now, this was all before Brittany and Simon were married. Even after they were married, they weren't in the public eye very often. When they were in the public eye, or often in the tabloids or whatever, it wasn't very good news. There is also an incident when Brittany was working on a movie set and Simon showed up allegedly drunk. He caused a big scene, and then Brittany was fired.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so not good stuff. Okay, so we have Simon, Brittany, and Sharon, Brittany's mother, all living together in the same house. And Simon, he told his mother, I believe, that Brittany hated this house that they lived in. He reports that the bathroom was her favorite place to be, which is where she would be found dead only 3 years after their marriage. Her last public appearance, she commented on her weight, stating she is down on her weight. But she was taking ballerina lessons, and that's why she was thinner. It was all over Hollywood that she was anorexic or taking drugs, but that's kind of like all Hollywood tabloids, you know. They like to say stuff like that.
They're awful.
Yeah. She was also quoted that she wanted to have a baby starting the next year. So Brittany and Simon seemed to have many paranormas, though. Brittany would use a fake name when she was getting prescriptions. Simon said that he thought the phones were bugged and believed they were under surveillance, which is kind of weird. He hired a private investigator trying to find people that were doing them wrong, like stealing information to sell to the tabloids. So now we're to the early morning of Brittany's death. The power was going on, the power was in and out all night, and they even had a blackout for 45 minutes. And then Brittany went to her bedroom balcony to get some air, and Brittany asked for Sharon. Sharon later came downstairs and told Simon that she needed help, that she couldn't catch her breath. Sharon made her some tea. So that was her result of she couldn't catch her breath. She wasn't feeling well. So instead of getting her help, she just made her some tea. So, but okay. I mean, whatever. She wasn't taking it seriously. It was quoted that Sharon said one time that Brittany would always over-exaggerate things, was drama about things. But So 7:30 that morning, Brittany went to the bathroom telling her mom that she was dying, and she collapsed. Simon put her in a cold shower while called 911. She was pronounced dead at the hospital at 10:04 that morning. At first, Simon refused an autopsy. The coroner insisted, though, and one was performed. The coroner said she was sick at least 2 weeks prior to this. And to quote him, he said if they had taken her to a doctor or hospital, it would have been treatable. In the autopsy, it was found that she had pneumonia, lots of prescription drugs, and anemia.
Oh my God.
Yeah, she was stated that now listen to all this stuff. She was stated that she had taken an antibiotic, cough medicine, migraine pills, and a nasal spray. Also being stated that she had taken a beta blocker, antidepressant drug, anti-inflammatory, anti-seizure, and a pain pill to ease her period pain, is what Simon said.
Oh my God.
So yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
That's insane.
Brittany's father later stated that he believed that she was poisoned. He didn't believe that this was from natural causes and made allegations against family members.
Wow.
After Brittany's death, Sharon and Simon shared a bed together, and they even did a photo shoot together only a month after her passing.
Wait, what?
Yes.
Like he shacked up with her mom?
I mean, it wasn't said that they were, having sex, but Sharon reported that they did share the same bed together, so that's just kind of weird.
Weird.
And doing a photo shoot together was weird. I saw a couple pictures. They're not, smiling or anything. They're kind of, grieving, but that was only a month after she passed, and it's just weird.
I mean, everyone has different ways of grieving, I guess.
Okay, so now we're only 5 months later. Simon was unconscious in his bedroom. Sharon called 911. He was reported dead about 25 minutes later. His death was to be caused of pneumonia and, I don't know. I lost my place. It was just like Brittany's death. Sharon sold their home a year later. She has since tried to remain on the public eye. Some investigators want to reopen the case because of it just being so strange. But to reopen the case, they would need more direct evidence. But, again, he died the exact same way Brittany died, and it was only 5 months later.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
That makes me think that her death was a little bit more suspicious.
Yeah.
I'm kind of on her dad's side. That's super suspicious.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Especially since he died the same way.
The exact same way. I mean, I don't know. It's like, I don't know what to think about it, especially with all those, like, drugs in her system was really
Right.
strange.
Like, that's a lot. That's a lot to have in your system.
Yeah. Yeah. They were just, I don't know. There's a lot of articles about it, and I was trying to keep it all straight, but there's just so much, like, it was just so weird. Everybody thinks it's weird, basically.
Yeah. That's crazy.
But that's it. That's my story.
All right. Okay, so I'm just going to warn everyone right now. I dove in deep. I dove in real deep, guys. I'm a huge nerd.
Mm-hmm.
So when I look something up, I usually go pretty deep. So I'm talking about the 27 Club. So for those of you that don't know what the 27 Club, the 27 Club is just a group of well-known people, musicians, artists, actors. From what I could tell, it was mostly in the artist-musician category. But there are a few actors in there. And so it's a group of musicians, actors, artists, celebrities, just well-known people who have all died at the age of 27. And so usually, from what I could find, the cause of death was due to some sort of drug overdose or alcohol poisoning, or some sort of violent manner, like murder, suicide, something like that. So there was this time in, back in this like late 60s, early 70s, where a lot of people were dying at the age of 27, and I'll get into a few of them. That they kind of thought, like, what's going on at the age of 27 that all of these people are dying? Like, doctors were starting to look into this. Like, this is clearly something's going on at the age of 27 that these people are just dying. But nothing concrete was found. It's more of just kind of a weird coincidence. So, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, so our first 27-member club that I will be discussing is Robert Johnson. So Robert Johnson's not super well known. I knew who he was just because I'm kind of a music nerd. But he is known for singing the blues, and he played guitar, and he was around back in like the 30s, the 20s. Like he was back in the day. So he and I don't know, you might know this. If you've seen Oh Brother Where Art Thou, you know who this is.
I haven't seen it in probably like 15 years, but yeah.
Okay. If you've seen it recently to remember, you'll know who this is. So Robert Johnson was just a man. He wasn't, super rich or anything. I mean, he was living on a plantation at the time. So at the time, he was told, hey, take your guitar and meet this man at this crossroads. And so he did. He took his guitar one night, met this man at a crossroads, and the man took the guitar, tuned it, and it was rumored that this was the devil.
Oh.
And that Robert Johnson sold his soul to the devil so that he could play the blues.
Interesting.
So if you're thinking back to my previous comment about Oh Brother Where Art Thou, there's the kid that they pick up who plays in their band, who plays guitar. That's Robert Johnson. They put him in that movie because they rumored, like I said, it's rumored that he sold his soul to the devil so that he could play music. And so Robert Johnson's really well known for, he's known as like a master of the blues, specifically the Delta blues. And so, unfortunately, I really couldn't find too much about his death. I don't know if it was just because he was a black man in the 30s that they just didn't record what happened, or they didn't care. I don't know, but there really wasn't much of a detail about how he died. But he died August 16th, 1938, at the age of 27. So he was kind of, I don't want to say that he was like the OG 27 Club member. I don't know for sure if he was or not, but he's in the OG group. Like, he's one of the first cases. So that's that. The second person I'm going to talk about is Brian Jones. So Brian Jones is the co-founder of the Rolling Stones. So he's not, once again, not super well known. Like, if you're like me, you know who he is. but not many, like when you think of the Rolling Stones, you think of Mick Jagger or Keith Richardson. Like you don't think of Brian Jones. So Brian Jones was a co-founder of the Stones. He played guitar along with many other instruments. He started having a really big, like, drug problem, an alcohol problem. And it got to the point where he was just not performing well. And so the band kicked him out.
Ouch.
Which was, I'm sure, a huge blow. And so literally less than a month later, he was found dead in his pool.
Oh.
So they labeled it as misadventure, but most people think that it was due to a drug problem. But he drowned in his pool. I'm guessing he fell in and drowned because he was high or something. So this is where it starts to get like multiple people are dying at this age of 27, and this is when, you know, doctors are starting to look at it like, okay, there's something weird going on here. What's going on in the body at 27 years old that people are just dying? So, okay, so the next person I'm going to talk about, which I think, you know, most people know who he is, Jimi Hendrix. So Jimi Hendrix, if you don't know who he is a famous singer and guitar player. He's, you know, famously played at Woodstock, and he's known for the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Also really well known for his drug problem. He, you know, was also an avid drug and alcohol abuser. And so the details about his death are kind of disputed. And you'll kind of see why as I kind of get into it. So he died September 18th, 1970. And so up to that day, on September 17th, I'm guessing he was with his girlfriend. I don't know if she was his girlfriend, Monica Danneman. And they were in London. And so Jimi Hendrix is from, I believe, Seattle. I could be wrong, but I think it was Seattle. But he was in London. And so she kind of gave an account of what happened that night. And so she stated that she had made them a meal and they had some wine. And then around 1:45 a.m., she ended up driving him to a friend's house where he stayed for about an hour. So then she picks him up and they just went back to, I think it was her place. I don't really remember. But then she said that they stayed up until about 7 a.m. talking, just kind of hanging out. And then they went to sleep. She woke up at around 11 a.m. to find him unconscious and unresponsive. She called 911, and paramedics took him straight to the hospital where he was pronounced dead at 12:45. It said that he died from asphyxiation while intoxicated. Basically, he choked on his own vomit.
That sucks.
That's how that happened. He had taken a really large dose of sleeping pills.
Damn.
He took nine sleeping pills. Of her, it was Monica's prescription. So he had taken 9 sleeping pills, which is 18 times the recommended dosage, which is insane. So the part that I think was just kind of the disputed part was, I think it was how it kind of came out. Like, was he choking on his vomit? Like, how did he die? Because there aren't many details other than her account of what happened that night. So it's just kind of like, like, was he on drugs? Was it because of the sleeping pills?
Like, why would you take that many sleeping pills?
Drinking?
Or did he think they were something else? Like different pills?
I have no idea, like, what his thought process was. But it's like, okay, so what really happened there? There's so many different factors at play. I mean, ultimately, he, you know, choked to death. But it doesn't know, like, it doesn't say, okay, did he die from the sleeping pills? Did he die from drug and alcohol use? Because I've also heard stories that he, like, was trying to get super high and write music. And that's when he, you know, died. So I don't know. But anyways, he died at the age of 27. And then the next person is Janis Joplin, another very well-known singer. And here's something that I didn't know about her. She actually sang, like, most of her really well-known songs are all covers.
Oh.
Like, she didn't actually write them. I had no idea. She has one song that's originally hers that she's really well known for, and I think it's like My Mercedes-Benz or something like that. But like Piece of My Heart was a cover, and Me and Bobby McGee was a cover by Chris Christopherson. So yeah, she just kind of was known for more of her cover stuff, which is fine. I like her music. I mean, I like the twist. I've heard both of the originals. I prefer her versions. I prefer the Janis Joplin. So, anywho, she was, like I said, known for her songs like Piece of My Heart and Me and Bobby McGee. So basically the day of her death, she died on October 4th, 1970. On the day of her death, she was supposed to be at a recording studio recording, and her producer was concerned because she didn't show up. So her producer then called a really close friend of hers and was like, hey, can you go check on her? And so the friend of hers was actually, they were all staying at a hotel, and so he was staying at the same hotel as her, and she, he knew which room she was in. And so he looked out the window and saw her car was still in the parking lot, so he knew she was there. So he went on, knocked on her door, no answer. He kind of ended up having to, break the door down, and that's when he found her dead on the ground by her bed. And so she died of a drug overdose. They do think that it was heroin, so she was into that hard shit. Once again, just kind of a crazy drug overdose situation. The lesson here is kids don't do drugs. So the next person that I'm going to talk about is Jim Morrison. And so I find his story kind of interesting. Like, I think it's super interesting. I'm also a huge fan of The Doors, so that could be why. So Jim Morrison is known as the singer of The Doors. He died on July 3rd, 1971. The Doors are known for Light My Fire, Love Me 2 Times. I'm trying to think of other Doors songs. Riders on the Storm. Yeah, I don't know. People Are Strange. I could go on and on and on. Anywho, so Jim developed a pretty bad alcohol addiction, and it sometimes, affected his performance. And there's footage of him on stage, like, it's not good. These are not, like, it was bad. So in March of 1971, he decided, you know what, I'm done. And it was after they recorded LA Woman, which is one of their albums. He decided, I'm going to go to Paris with my girlfriend. We're just going to get out of here. So that's where he lived from March to July. He lived there the rest of his life. So once again, his death is kind of, the details of his death are also kind of disputed. So basically what happened was his girlfriend found him dead in their bathtub. So that's, fun. The cause of death was reported as heart failure, but most people are like, nah, that was a drug overdose. Yeah. So it's like officially he died of heart failure because he had actually gained a ton of weight. I think it was just in the course of their last album. I don't know for sure, but he had, gained a ton of weight. And so when he moved to Paris, he had lost a lot of weight. But yeah, they said that he died of heart failure, which, like I said, other people are like, no, that was drugs. And so here's the kind of not fun fact, but interesting fact about this is he died 2 years to the day after Brian Jones, which is the guy from the Stones who died in his pool. So he died literally 2 years to the day after Brian Jones. They were both 27. And then, even weirder, his girlfriend, Pamela Courson, died 3 years later at the age of 27.
Wow.
Like, how weird is that? It's crazy. So, yeah, his death, like I said, kind of disputed on how he actually died or how they kind of labeled it. But, yeah, so that's the story of how Jim Morrison died. So this next one, guys, this is the one I went deep on.
Let's hear it.
This is the one that I went on. I went deep on this one. So, yes, Kurt Cobain.
Very famously.
Kurt Cobain, very famously known for Nirvana, founder, singer, guitarist, all sorts of stuff. So it is said that he died, which I know that this is kind of controversial. He died April 5th, 1994 by self-inflicted gunshot wound. So like I said, Kurt Cobain was known as the frontman of Nirvana. They're popular for songs like Smells Like Teen Spirit, Come As You Are, all those songs. So Kurt Cobain was known to kind of struggle with heroin and depression. He had a huge depression problem. In March of 1994, he actually overdosed and was rushed to the hospital. Courtney Love, which famously his wife, she stated that she thought that this was a suicide attempt.
Wow.
On March 25th, she stated that, or she put together an intervention for him, and it did not go well. He was livid, beyond pissed that she would even consider doing this. And all of his friends were there, and he just absolutely threw a fit. So he ended up storming upstairs, locking himself in his bedroom, and refused to come out until hours later. Finally, he calmed down and agreed to go to a detox program. So on March 30th, he arrived at an LA facility for a detox program. He had friends and family there. His daughter came to see him. He was playing with his daughter, friends, Little did they know this was the last day that anyone would see him. So on March 31st, he went outside for a cigarette, and he had made a joke to someone that he was going to scale the 6-foot wall. Well,
oh, jeez.
He scaled that wall, and he left. He left the facility. He took a taxi to LAX, which is the airport in LA, and he flew home to Seattle. So on his flight, he sat near Duff McKagan, which if you don't know who Duff McKagan is the bassist for Guns N' Roses. And Kurt Cobain had a very well-known hatred for Guns N' Roses, specifically Axl Rose, but he actively hated Guns N' Roses. And so Duff McKagan went on report saying, he was happy to see me, which was weird. And he said that he knew that something wasn't right. He just had this instinct of okay, this isn't right. Kurt's not right. So after that, Kurt landed in Seattle, and he just kind of went missing for a few days. On April 2nd and 3rd, there are reports of him being spotted throughout the city of Seattle. And then on April 3rd, Courtney Love hired a PI to track Cobain down because no one had heard from him, no one knew where he was, and so obviously people were starting to get worried. So on April 7th, it was kind of rumored that Nirvana was going to be breaking up, and so they were supposed to be playing Lollapalooza that year, and so they ended up pulling out on April 7th, which in a second you'll be like, oh damn. So April 8th, an electrician went to Cobain's house to install a security system and found his body. He didn't think that Kurt Cobain, he didn't see much blood other than a little bit of a trickle down his ear, and then upon further investigation, he's like, oh shit, this guy shot himself. Whoa, dude. So obviously he called the cops, all that stuff. A suicide note was found, and it was addressed to his childhood imaginary friend.
Oh.
Basically just saying, he no longer had the passion for music anymore. He wasn't, he didn't feel like writing music anymore. He hadn't found it enjoyable, stuff like that. So, upon a autopsy, it was found that he had heroin in his system along with diazepam, which is Valium. And his body had actually been there for a few days. So it was believed that he had died on April 5th. So remember when I said on April 7th they pulled out of Lollapalooza, thinking that, the band was breaking up? Well, guess what, guys? The band kind of broke up. Because Kurt Cobain died. I shouldn't laugh. That's not funny. So, yeah, that's kind of the crazy story of Kurt Cobain and how he went missing for a couple of days and sadly shot himself. And so I know I've heard like conspiracy theories that like Courtney Love did it.
Like, yeah, where was she, if he was there for a couple days, where was she at?
Well, so I'm guessing, it's my understanding that they lived in LA. And then he had a separate home in Seattle, which is where he's from. I don't know for sure though. That's just my guess. But yeah, I've heard conspiracy theories of Courtney Love did it. It's Courtney's fault he died. But who knows? Who knows if that's the case or not? I guess Kurt Cobain is the only one that knows. Okay. Next person. On to the next. Amy Winehouse. So she is well known for, songs like Back to Black, Rehab, Valerie, all sorts of songs. And so she died of alcohol poisoning on July 23rd of 2011. So she had a really major drug and alcohol problem, and it actually came out later that she really had a lot of eating disorders too. Like she was battling with bulimia. So in August of 2007, she was hospitalized for an overdose. She had, get this, heroin, ecstasy, cocaine, ketamine, and alcohol in her system when she was hospitalized. So admittedly, she would self-harm, and like I said, she had a diseating order. I cannot talk, people. She had an eating disorder. In January of 2008, she went to a 2-week rehab program, but it did not take. She was also in and out of a lot of legal trouble for, a variety of things. So in 2011, 3 days before she died, she went to her house in England. Her bodyguard felt that she had been intoxicated, but she seemed cheery and, was listening to music and watching TV and laughing and just having a ton of fun. And so on the morning of July 23rd, her bodyguard went to go wake her up at around 10 a.m. and he couldn't get her up, which was not that was a very normal thing for her. She, she was a partier, and so it took him a couple of, tries to get her up. So then around 3 p.m. he went back and checked on her, and she was in the exact same position, and that's when he got concerned. So he went to go check on her, and that's when he noticed that she wasn't breathing and that she had no pulse. At around 3:54 p.m., 2 ambulances arrived, and that's where she was pronounced dead. It was later found that she had a blood alcohol level of 5 times greater than the legal limit. Her brother said that she, her eating disorder kind of led to physical weakness, which is what played into her death. So because she had that drug or the eating disorder, the drugs and the alcohol affected her differently than it would someone who didn't have an eating disorder, who was, consuming what they need to consume. So, that's kind of the sad story of Amy Winehouse. I mean, she just kind of battled drugs and alcohol for a really long time. Okay, so the last person, I know, I've been going on and on, guys. The last person I'm going to talk about is Anton Yelchin. So he's an actor. So he's the only actor on the list that I really kind of was like, I know who this is, and other people might know who this is. So that's why I picked him. But he's an actor, and he's known for his role in Star Trek, where he played Chekhov in the newer Star Trek movies, obviously, because he died at 27. And then he was also known for the movie Charlie Bartlett, which is my favorite movie that he's in. And that's why I included it. On June 18th, 2016, he failed to come to a rehearsal for guessing a film. It didn't really say. So he had friends that went to go check on him. They arrived at his house around midnight to find that he had been pinned against his Jeep and a brick pillar that was at his gate to his house. So upon further investigation, it seemed that he had gotten out of his car, put it in park, Well, that year of car that he had was known for having, faults that had been recalled. And so what happened was he got out of his car, he went to go check on the gate, and then his car rolled backwards down his driveway, which, from what I understand, was a pretty steep incline, and it trapped him against the brick pillar next to the gate. And so he was pronounced dead on June 19th. His cause of death was blunt traumatic asphyxia. His parents actually went on to sue Chrysler, which is the company that makes Jeeps. He had a Jeep Grand Cherokee. And so they went on to sue Chrysler and filed a wrongful death suit. Like I said, this was a well-known issue for the model that he had, but the dealership that he actually got his car from said that he was actually responsible for his own death because he had allegedly misused and modified his vehicle. Obviously his parents were like not having any of it. Like, no. So they ended up settling the court case outside of court. They didn't actually take it to a judge, but so good for that. But it's just sad, like,
that's crazy.
To have someone, like, I couldn't even imagine walking up and saying, "Oh, hey, that's my friend pinned up against a brick pillar." Like, no.
So how long was he there till he was discovered?
It didn't say. It just said that he was found around midnight, just pinned up against the brick pillar.
That's really sad.
So, yeah, that is sad.
These are really sad stories,
that's
actually.
It. I know. I'm just like, like I said, I'm a huge music nerd, and so I actually, fun fact, for those of you that know me, I did a report on this in the 8th grade.
Oh, wow.
When I think I was 14 or, 13 or 14, and I did a report on drug use in the music industry, and so, like, there's a ton of other musicians that I covered when I did that report, but I did cover a lot of the 27 Club people, but, like, John Bonham, who is the drummer of Led Zeppelin, who is my favorite band, he also died at a really young age due to drugs and alcohol. So drugs and alcohol are kind of like, I mean, I don't know if it's just musicians. I mean, actors too. Like, there's a ton of actors that have died from drugs and alcohol, and young too. Like River Phoenix died really young. There's just a ton of young people that die from drugs and alcohol, and it's just really sad.
This is a really sad episode, actually.
Sorry.
I know.
So, moral of the story is, guys, don't do drugs.
Right.
And don't drink excessively.
Okay.
Don't do drugs and drink.
Yeah, don't combo those.
Nope. No. So, okay, yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, well, that's it for us today. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. You can send us an email at goingmadpod@gmail.com. If you guys have any crazy stories to tell us, or if there's a topic you want us to talk about, let us know. Email us, and we'll see you next time. Bye!